Hi friends, happy to meet you all again in my next video. In this video, we are going to see about Shakespearean concept of tragedy. So how Shakespeare inherited his concept of tragedy from ancient Greece and Rome. And basically, tragedy should involve a tragic figure with great power, and the figure must possess enough power to do great harm. And we are going to see how Shakespeare has fulfilled this concept in his tragedies. Tragedy is a form of drama based on human suffering that invokes an accompanying catharsis or pleasure in audience. In English, the most famous and most successful tragedies are those of Shakespeare's and his contemporaries. Four most famous tragedies of Shakespeare are Hamlet, King Lear, Othello and Macbeth. Tragedy, according to Shakespeare, means a tale of suffering and death. So tragedy, conceived by him, concerned with the ruin or restoration of the soul and of the life of man. In other words, it is a struggle between the good and evil present in the world. So Shakespeare's motive is the exhibition of the man in unsuccessful conflict with circumstances, which he has shown in his plays like King Lear, Macbeth, Othello and Hamlet. There are certain well-built principles which are almost in every Shakespearean tragedy we can see. The first thing is his heroes. So Shakespeare's heroes is a man with an outstanding status. So Lear and Caesar are kings, whereas Hamlet is a prince, Macbeth and Brutus are nobles, and Othello is a general of the Republic of Venice. So Shakespeare followed the ancient characters as his heroes. Shakespeare's tragedy is a story of one man. So the second main thing regarding the concept of his tragedy is the story. The story runs behind the central character of his play, that is the one single man that is the hero of almost all his plays. So he was medieval in his conception of tragedy. He made conspicuous persons suffer, and by suffering he tends to teach some moral and morality to his spectators and readers. His tragedy is concerned with the fate of person of high degree or a king or princess or even the leaders in the state like Brutus and Antony. Their number is much larger than the characters in ancient Greek tragedies. The other characters face ups and downs of fortune like the heroes, but they remain in the background. The importance to heroine is given. Sometimes her name is the part of the title, such as in Romeo and Juliet and Antony and Cleopatra. The causes of suffering in tragedy is because of fatal blow in the character of the hero. So Shakespeare's tragedy differs from the ancient Greek tragedy, where the hero's life is governed by fate of God, showing helplessness of man. And according to Shakespeare, man is responsible for his own actions, and he believed in the principle character is destiny. And his heroes is no doubt good but not perfect at all. And there is always some certain flaw in him, like King Lear has a flaw with his own relationship regarding his own daughters, and Othello having his flaw on his own love towards his own wife, and Macbeth over ambitious, and so on. So his hero is presented in the grip of some fatal flaw in his characters, which in spite of external circumstances leads him to the fatal doom. So his characters meet tragedy because of indecisiveness, overweening ambition like Hamlet and Macbeth. So their impulsiveness to act, as we read in Hamlet, King Lear and even in Othello. So there is concept of suffering and death in his tragedies. He depicts the death of hero not like other plays where hero is good, but here almost all the heroes of Shakespearean tragedy have some very big tragic flaws as negative characters, and this is due to the negative character, their suffering follows, and this suffering does not befall in the beginning. So it causes in his heroes no physical pain but a great mental agony, and it starts after the hero commits sin. The hero appears second in spite of his greatness, and one of the famous critic regarding Shakespeare, that is A.C. Bradley, on Shakespearean tragedy is essentially a tale of suffering and calamity conducting to death. So Macbeth feels the pangs of murdering the king he feels, and the life is meaningless for him. And the King Lear, his afflicted state of insanity suffers, and Hamlet, by his mental torture, is laid on the track. And Othello, his disturbed state of mind, finds a house divided within himself. So these are the flaws in the characters of his heroes. And last, the conflict and struggle is the essence of Shakespearean tragedy. And in his tragedies, conflicts are internal as well as external. And hero and his party are pitted against their antagonists, and the internal conflict goes in the mind and soul of the hero. In Macbeth, conflict before he murders the king Duncan, and in Romeo and Juliet, the conflict is external. Both these conflicts contribute to the tragedy, that is both internal as well as external. That is, in case of Macbeth it is internal, and in case of Romeo it is external. So thus he creates psychological tragedy of the hero by presenting the moral conflict within his soul, resulting in his death. In Shakespearean tragedy, there is heart-rending suffering for the hero, yet it is never depressing for the reader as well as the audience. Even the suffering which the hero undergoes is more than is presented by him. Along with the hero, some flawless people also die, as Cordelia dies with Lear and Ophelia with Hamlet. His tragedies produce a feeling of pity. No evildoer goes unpunished is the central theme, or more or less the moral of his plays. Evil in his tragedies is self-destructive, but it pulls into destruction some good also. So Shakespeare arouses pity because he thinks that the hero is responsible for his own fate. So thus in this we are clear that Shakespeare has followed all the concepts regarding the tragedies from the contemporaries of Greece and Rome. Here I have shown or suggested some of the main tragic plays by Shakespeare which you have to have at least one look or study. In next video we can see about Othello and know more about Shakespeare's tragedies. Thank you. See you again in my next video.